Action.
All right, what's up? This is Lloyd and my buddy Chris here.
What's up, guys? This is Chris Nova, Lloyd Dixon, and today we are bringing you that realness about game, attraction, dating, lifestyle, design, and success. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with just kind of talking about our stories and how we kind of got into this and the things that really motivated and inspired us to change.
All right, cool. So yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be some good stuff. I think the most important things that you learn when in life and stuff are anecdotal, and you learn from other people and their stories and things like that. So, do you want to start, Chris? I think your story is actually pretty interesting. You started to tell me a little bit about it, so I kind of want to hear more.
Sure. So I started, guys, by being a fat ass. That's how I started. I was pretty damn fat, and I was made fun of every single day, every day without exception. It was a good day if I was only made fun of once or twice.
Was it like the same people, or was it just like...
It was the same people, but then every so often, and every 2 or 3 days, there'd be an additional few people who were kind of got into it as well. The same people would make fun of me every day, got other people riled up, and then people that I didn't even know would also make fun of me. So
they would come in, they're just like...
Yeah. Okay, so basically, this was in middle school. I was made fun of every day, and it was to the point it wasn't just that I was fat, but being fat reflected this deeper issue that was going on of just having no confidence and just being kind of like this kind of just like weak guy. I remember going up to a girl that I thought was really cute and actually telling her, Erica, I think I just want to tell you, I think you're so beautiful and I just, and amazing, and I just really think, my balls hadn't dropped yet, so that's how my voice sounded, truly. And I said, I just think that if you could grace me with your presence for just, from time to time, I would really appreciate it. She was like, okay. And I was like, please.
You really said grace me with your presence?
I really said, like, grace me with your presence. Which is, and
shit too.
And think about what this, and I'm glad that you're like questioning how, because it's so absurd, right? Because and this will dive right into something that I think you guys will get a lot of value from. And that is, immediately right off the bat, we're starting with the premise that I'm here, I'm this fat, chody, like, weak kid, and I'm just saying right off the bat, she's up here. And that, by the way, is what we call a pedestal.
I mean, you literally said it. You're like, grace me with your presence.
I myself, no one
get much higher.
It doesn't get much higher on the pedestal than that. And so that's where I started from. And I knew that I wanted to make a change. And to be honest, it's super embarrassing, but I'll just go out and say it right now. I want you guys to know where I was coming from. I was at a party for my birthday. We played Spin the Bottle. I was 14 years old. And this girl made out with me. And she, when we got back into class, was made fun of so much for the fact that she made out with me and grabbed my balls that she started crying. Yeah. She started crying. She started crying in class. You're like, you made out with him and you grabbed his balls. And she literally started. That was Cohen.
Wait, who is that? Is that like a Mexican guy or like?
That was a Mexican guy.
That was a Mexican guy.
And she literally started crying. And it was at these moments that compounded that I realized that I wanted to change everything in my life. I wanted to go into high school and have everything be different. I wanted to get girls. I wanted to have game. I had no idea how to do it, but I knew I had to stop being such a fat ass. And I had to somehow figure out if I could just get that handled, hopefully everything else would get handled
too.
So
you made this decision like in high school?
I was 14 years old.
14 years old.
Turning 15, then I made this decision.
Wow.
And I lost about 50 pounds. I didn't know what I was doing, but I started to exercise. I started just to eat less. We'll go into a whole other video series about nutrition and about all these other things at a later time, the amount that I've learned since then. But basically, I had no idea what the fuck I was doing, but I just knew I wanted to change my life. And I started with dieting and just eating better. And by the time I started high school, I'd lost like 50 pounds. And at least I had a fresh,
even
clean
before
start.
high school, you had lost the weight.
I had lost the weight in the last part of 8th grade all the way up till the time high school started.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Over a 6-month period, yeah.
All right, you get it. You were fat.
I was fat. Like, make no mistakes.
We now know how fat you are.
I was a fat, chubby, McFat, chubbykins, McFat piece of fat shit.
Yeah,
fat ass.
How did that change your life going into
high school? I had man breasts. I had boobs. I had stomach that people would grab my fat and make it talk for me, literally for me. Like, look at his fat, So, I mean, I'm really, and I would go home and cry every day. This is the honest truth. I want you to know, because I want you guys to know that I was at rock bottom. If I can do this, you can do this as well. And I just want you to know that it's possible to take it from the absolute worst possible place where you have no prospects. You can change your life and bring it all the way to the other side where you have really amazing things happen.
Do you want to talk about the transformation? Are you going like maybe in high school and stuff like that, or you want to just transition into my embarrassing moment first, or what do you want to do?
So basically, this started I'll just briefly go into the transformation.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
basically, me losing this 50 plus pounds started set in motion a bunch of other things, a series of events that led to this cascading effect of me going from not only being fat and having no game, but once I lost the weight and I started to feel better about myself physically, I started to then also start to develop some natural confidence. And then once I started to get confidence, I started to actually learn about things like neuro-linguistic programming, which is getting leverage on yourself through the way that you communicate with yourself via your words and the images you use in your mind. I started learning about things like body language. I started actually trying and practicing with meeting girls. I actually started to take the initiative and go approach different girls and groups of girls, and I started to actually make this a focal point in my life. And I started to read books about this. I started to learn about things like attraction and the idea of having game, and I had no idea that this even existed. But I was always really good at video games and things like that, and I started to realize, hey, this is kind of like this big social video game. And so I started to integrate these different things I was learning, and over the course of the next 2, 3, 4 years, this was the main thing I focused on. I mean, really, more than anything else. I took my social game from having absolutely none, zero, not being able to read any people or social situations, to being able to doing a complete 180 reverse and being able to walk into rooms and be able to go from not only having a little bit of confidence to having literally just to being the man, to literally being the life of the party, to having basically being able to hook up with whatever girls I want to hook up with, to being able to get really, really hot girls. So first off, hooking up with girls in volume and quantity, that was the first thing I want to do. So at this point, I've been with literally hundreds of different girls and women at this point, but also getting really, really hot girls, and ended up having a relationship with a really beautiful blonde European girl, to dating strippers and porn stars, and literally having threesomes with some incredibly sexy girls. So, and everything in between.
So a lot of fun stuff.
A lot of fun stuff. And being able to do this on command wherever it was that I would go, wherever it was I would travel, the different colleges that I went to, and basically anytime I would go out, regardless of the country I was. Every single time I've gone to any country in the world, I have been able, or any state, I have been able to make this happen.
Yeah, so it sounds like the principles that you learned are applicable wherever you go in whatever situation.
Absolutely. The principles that I learned, and subsequently the principles that you will learn, that you guys will learn, can be used anywhere. These are universal principles.
So did it take you like you said it took like 2 to 4 years before you learned this, or you had it
I would
down,
say
or was there still some time after that where you're still kind of working out the kinks or whatever?
I would say it was about 2 years that I really started to get this, but that's because I was doing trial and error.
This was in high school though, right?
This was in high school, yeah.
Okay, cool.
But again, this was after reading tons of different books, home study courses, DVD programs, going to seminars, finding other guys who were really good with girls. I literally made this my main focus in life. More than school, more than grades. I was always good at that stuff, but I didn't care. I wanted to do this. So that's what. So cool. The point is that it doesn't have. It took me this amount of time. It doesn't have to take anyone else who's learning about this that amount of time. I didn't know anything, so I had to go through this myself. But we've now condensed this information so that we can share it with you in a way that is a lot more direct and tangible and a lot more usable, so that you don't have to go through that same amount of time to be able to get similar results. So I just want to state that right from the get-go.
Cool. All right. That was an interesting story. I actually didn't know before today that you used to be fat. I mean, it's crazy to see you right now because you're so fit, and
thanks, man.
You're definitely someone that I would never have thought that was like that big or had those issues back then.
Yeah.
My story's a little bit different. I'm actually gonna. So you started in high school. It sounds like that was when the transformation first started happening. And I think a lot of people. I had some definitely insecurity issues when I was in high school, for sure, that carried through to college. But I think I'm gonna start. I think I'll start in college and maybe a little bit after college.
Yeah.
When I think the transformation started, or when I think that I first started to come into my own. I think there was a couple of events that really set it off. There was when I was in college, I was a little bit different than I am now. I was majoring in physics. I was at UC Santa Barbara. So if you know anything about UC Santa Barbara, you know it's a top 10 party school.
I went to college in Santa Barbara.
You did?
Yeah.
I didn't even know you went to college in Santa Barbara.
I went to 4 or 5 different colleges, including Santa Barbara Community College.
Oh, SBCC?
Yeah.
How was that?
Very distracting, terrible place to actually get work done.
Try doing physics there, man.
Try having a long distance relationship with a psychotic,
long distance relationship?
beautiful but psychotic blonde girl that lived in France. When it's Sunday morning for her and she hits you up and it's Saturday night and she wants to talk and she hears girls in the background and she assumes that they're sluts that you're gonna go fuck.
I mean, there's a good chance there are.
And it's a good chance there are. So great place to go hook up with girls. Very hard place to have a relationship, let alone a long distance one.
Yeah, let alone a long distance one. Well, I had a very real relationship with physics, which is one of the toughest majors that you can do at Santa Barbara. It was pretty tough, and I remember biking to class. I would have no time. I wouldn't go out really. The only thing I was doing physics and I was playing soccer. And I remember biking to class, and you just see like the hottest girls of all time you're biking to class with, and you're like, I would fall in love minimum 3 times when I would bike to my physics department class.
Especially bikes in Santa Barbara, for whatever reason. It's
because you see them like you just get this quick stare and you're like, and then they just disappear into nothing.
Exactly.
And the imagination goes crazy. So then I would go into physics class with a bunch. It was like, I think my physics class had it was like 99% guys, and then the 1% that was there was like 5 girls or something like that. 2 of them were deformed. I think one of them was like okay looking.
Did you say 2 of them were deformed?
They just were like, you wouldn't.
Wow.
They wouldn't even be on the scale, man. They were really repulsive.
Good thing they were in physics.
That's probably why they were in there. Or maybe they were interested in the subject, But there was like one cute girl, and I just remember like staring at her face the entire lecture. That was the only girl worth looking at.
At least it was her face you were staring at.
Yeah. Well, the back of her head really, because I would sit up top and she would be kind of sitting down lower. Went through this for about 3 or 4 years, man, and I think by around 3.5 years, I was like getting real tired. I wasn't too motivated to do physics anymore, and the times that I would go out, I would have just no success when I would go out. And I remember reading The Game when I was at the end of high school. I think it was
Neil Strauss.
Yeah, 2005 I read The Game.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I gotta learn this stuff. But I thought I could do it while I was doing physics, and I had all these other preoccupations going on. But I think I needed to do what you did, which is where you really just got to sit down and say, look, I gotta figure this out. I don't know how it's gonna work. I don't know where, the specific process to do it, because he doesn't give you a blueprint in the book, and nobody really gives you a blueprint because it's your own life and you have to figure it out yourself. So I think around halfway through my junior year, I decided that I was gonna make these adjustments, and whatever I was gonna do, I knew I had to figure it out.
Junior year of college, right?
Junior year of college, yeah.
Right.
Halfway through, I was like, I gotta get the results. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna figure it out, or I'm gonna die trying.
Yes.
And so when I made that commitment, I think that's when it first started. I started getting some success in college. Not as much as I would have liked.
Yeah.
I think I had slept with maybe like 10 girls or something like that, 10 or 15 when I graduated. It was around 15, and there was a couple that I was that I actually really liked and I was proud of when I graduated. But then when you graduate, you get this like, coming from Santa Barbara, which is like an environment full of hot girls who are like drunk all the time and partying all the time. From that to go into, I was working for Oracle, and like it's a very corporate environment.
Oh, right after college.
Yeah, right after college. And I was this 21-year-old kid going to bars with guys that were much older than me, it was a new environment, and I didn't have the same resources, for lack of a better term, that you do in Santa Barbara. I mean, literally, like, you have a party at your own place and your room is right there, so it's not a very far walk. And so it took me like 6 months. I think I had a 6-month dry spell before I even got I even got any sort of action. And then
That's one of that. So just in case you didn't follow that, so Lloyd was talking about the difference in context between when he was in college in Santa Barbara and then going out in the real world. And while the principles of game are applicable everywhere and anywhere that you go, the context that you find yourself in is very, very powerful. And
well, it's also because I wasn't as good as I thought I was. When you have girls around you all the time, you can fool yourself into thinking that you're charismatic or you're confident and stuff like that. But when you get thrust in an environment where you're not immediately those things, and it's not as easy for you, and it's tough. That's really where it tests you. And I was being tested, and I was failing the test. Every single time I went out, every single time I was talking to somebody.
I feel you.
So it took a while before I realized, okay, well, I need to do some work. And so I started going out probably 5 times a week for 2 years. I went out 5 times a week for 2 years. And I think the first year it was like...
So that sounds like a very specific commitment that you made to do that. Like,
yeah.
It sounds like you really wanted to get this area of your life handled.
Oh, for sure. Awesome.
I
didn't really, at that point in time, I stopped caring about my job too much because it was like, I wasn't really where I wanted to go.
Sure.
And I felt like this was the one thing in my life that I needed to get figured out before I actually accomplished the stuff that I wanted to accomplish. And so for 2 years I did this, and the first year was kind of tough. It was like weird things were happening. I was in awkward situations, but I was putting myself out there and I was trying. And I think that was the main part that brought me a lot of success, which was I wasn't good. I wasn't charismatic. I didn't have an agreeable personality, I even think, in a lot of circumstances, but I still got laid, I still got girls, and I think that just shows that if you put in effort and you put in time to work on something, it really does work. And obviously, I think in the second year, that's when I think I started to get a lot better, to really hit my stride. It became a lot easier. I stopped having to put in as much work as I...
The second year,
yeah. I ended up getting more girls, and then by the end of it, I was pretty much done with my job at that point. I think this is like...
So you're like 22, 23 at this point? Or
24 was 24 was when I traveled.
Okay.
And so then I traveled for about 10 months, and in 8 of those months, the last 2 months, I was in India, so I wasn't... There's no girls in India that you want to get with.
Welcome to India.
Yeah, trust me, there's no girls in India that you want to get with. But for the rest of the time I was in Southeast Asia, and there's like a lot of Europeans that are traveling around there and stuff. That's when I think I hit it was like a next, I thought I was good, and then when I went and I traveled, I just hit that next stage of learning where it was like, that's when it becomes, when they say like was it 4 levels? You're unconsciously incompetent, and then consciously incompetent, and then
then consciously competent. And then unconsciously competent.
Unconsciously competent. So in my second year, I was consciously competent. And then when I was traveling, I was unconsciously competent because I really wasn't even thinking about it too much. It seemed effortless, and it was a lot more fun. I remember going out in my first year, and I didn't like it. And that's a weird thing to say because going out is supposed to be the thing that you look forward to. You look forward to the Fridays and Saturday nights when you're going out in the town, going to bars and stuff and seeing your friends. But that wasn't fun for me because it was like I would get nervous before I would talk to girls and stuff, and so I would drink to try and get over that, and I would be hungover, and like it just, the whole process wasn't fun. And then I remember my second year I started to have fun, and then when I was traveling, I had a fucking blast, and I was getting better results than I had ever gotten in my life. I was meeting girls that I actually connected with. I could actually enjoy my time with them. I mean, you start to see all the areas that you were lacking.
Now, what do you think
before
it brought you? I want to just touch on 2 things before we move forward. You had mentioned. So, what do you think was different about that? What finally changed for you? And by the way, I just want to express what Lloyd just brought up there that you guys might find really useful is the 4 stages that any skill, anything that you want to do in life goes through, and that is the stages of unconscious incompetence to conscious competence. So the first stage of any skill, anything at all, including...
The last stage is unconscious competence.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the first thing, when you're trying to learn anything, whether it's riding a bike, making music, being really good with girls, is you suck at it and you don't even know that you suck at it. This is before you decide to do something about it. So unconscious incompetence. You suck and you don't even know that you suck. Then you realize, fuck, okay, I really want to do this. I know I suck at it, but I want to get better. So you go from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. You now are aware that you suck at something, but you want to do something about it. Then you move from that stage to conscious incompetence. So you're unconscious competence. You're then aware you can do it when you're trying, when you have to really try, but you're able to do it. And then you get to the fourth and final stage, which is really the area of mastery. And again, this is applicable to any skill. It's pervasive across everything. That is unconscious competence. You're just you've done something so many times, you're so good at it, you don't even have to try anymore, and it just rings in the background. It sounds like for Lloyd, when he got to traveling around in Southeast Asia, he started to reach a point of unconscious competence.
Yeah, I mean, and just the difference now is like, I mean, if I go out now, I might talk to a couple girls, but every single girl that I talk to, like if I'm trying to get laid and I go out, I'll get laid. But I won't put in anywhere near as much effort as I did. I'll actually sit back and talk to you guys and chill out and have a good time, and actually be able to relax and be a I guess a chill dude now. Before I wasn't a chill dude. Before I was definitely a guy who stressed out a lot.
For sure.
For sure.
It's and we've all been there, and so it's really great to see and hear about the transition that can take place. You can really take it from anywhere that you are to the place that you want to be. So that's what I hope we can impart you guys with through these videos.
So want to do like a wrap up?
Yeah. I think that was good. I was surprised that we covered some stuff that we did. I think that we'll talk about a couple more stories, specific ones.
Yeah, this will be part of. We'll edit this out. This will be part of this video, and then this video will be called whatever X.
Why don't you guys just do a wrap up real quick and just say like this is who we are, and like we just want to like let you guys know about our stories real quick before you guys really dive into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
okay, cool.
So guys, this is who we are. This is Lloyd Dixon, and this is Chris Nova, and we are telling you these stories because we want to give you guys an understanding of where it is that we're coming from, so that you can relate to us and see that we are like you, and in fact, we might have started off in a lot worse position than you're starting off. The point is, by expressing the stuff about where we're coming from, you can understand what's possible, and we want to just get this out of the way first so you see where we're coming from, so that when we start to really dive into different tactics, strategies, methods, ways of going, mindsets, things that are going to take you from where you are to where you want to be, you can understand that if we can do it, you can do it too. And the sky's the limit.
We're all cut from the same cloth. We're all human. And even if you think, like, that guy, he's always gotten girls. He gets nervous too. He has insecurities. He's had moments where he's questioned himself, and he's had times where he's had to turn it all around. So, we're different, but we're all the same.
And if we can do it, we want to serve as models that you can do it too.
Cool.
You can go from being fat ass to